Welcome to the project. It was the moment many Aussies had been hoping for. Finally, after more than 4 years and 13 consecutive interest rate hikes, the Reserve Bank officially cut the cash rate by 0.25%. The Big Four banks say they will be passing on this much-needed relief in full, but the RBA has warned borrowers not to get too excited.
It's clear that higher interest rates have been working as anticipated, restricting economic activity and putting downward pressure on inflation. The board judges it's time to reduce a little bit of that restrictiveness, but we cannot declare victory on inflation just yet.
We're live from the lands of the Kulin Nation. Sally Tyndall is with us, Director of Data Insights at CanStar. Sally, how long until we start to feel some of this relief in bank accounts?
That's a really good question. The big banks have said that they will pass this cut on in full to their variable borrowers, but they're going to take 10 to 14 days from this point to lower your interest rate. Now, your interest rate will drop automatically. So when they go to calculate how much you owe in interest, which they do every single day, that will be applied at the lower rate from Friday week for 3 of the Big Four banks. Westpac takes a little bit longer. What might not automatically go down, though, is your monthly repayments or your direct debits. For some banks, you actually have to call and ask them to reduce your minimum monthly repayments in order to see that relief in your bank account.
Oh, goodness, the phones at the banks. Just going to be like, your wait time is 74 hours on Monday. But the big question for everyone is, how much extra cash will households save? Me.
Yeah. It's a really good question. For a $500,000 mortgage, 25 years remaining, you're looking at a drop in minimum monthly repayments of around $77. For $1 million mortgage, and there's plenty of people, unfortunately, that are carrying around these Santa sacks of debt, you're looking at a drop of $154 every single month, hopefully from here on in. Look, this is kind of small change when you compare it to what we've just been through. In fact, it's about 2% of your new monthly repayments, but it's the beginning of hopefully what is the downward slide. We have just scaled financial Everest, or certainly people with a mortgage have, and this first cash rate cut, I think, is more meaningful because it hopefully means that the cost of living crisis is finally getting under control.
You want to tell us how big your mortgage is, Miff, and we'll go from there?
Is it a Santa sack of debt, potentially?
I know, I loved how Santa sack came into that. I had good thoughts, good thoughts about my mountain of debt.
Well, so Sally, 500,000 borrowers have never experienced a rate cut before, me included. This is my first one. Are there any traditions? What do we need to know?
Okay, know that, yes, your bank might pass it on in full. If you haven't got an announcement from your bank, pick up the phone and ask them what they intend to do. We've actually got a page on our site that's called a rate tracker, and it shows you which banks have announced and what they're going to do. But also know if you're on a variable rate, that rate is negotiable. Don't stop there. When you're on the phone to the bank asking if they'll pass on this RBA cut, ask them, well, how much more can you give me as extra? Because right now we expect the refinancing wars to reignite, and that means banks, big and small, will start fighting for people's business. A bit of people power wouldn't go astray here. So if a lot of people start switching, we could see banks really come out with competitive rates. We could see some banks cut by more than the RBA prescribes, but of course not for existing customers. That'll probably be just for new customers.
Sally, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And let's get some more news now. And a groundbreaking study has brought fresh hope to advanced melanoma patients with the worst diagnoses. A trial of combination immunotherapy has produced impressive results in those whose cancer has spread to the brain. Now, a follow-up has revealed using 2 drugs combined can effectively cure more than 50% of patients.
There was an overwhelming advantage for the 2 drugs together, and now we have the long-term follow-up, and that's what we need to show that there is indeed cure.
And former Queensland Premier, now in opposition, Steve Miles, has copped it in State Parliament today. There was outrage after photos of him drinking red wine with a colleague after visiting flood-ravaged Queensland were tabled in the House. Deputy Premier Jared Blaze shared the snaps, accusing Miles of trying to con Queenslanders.
What a disgraceful opposition leader, not up to the job, pretending that he was with flood victims and he was on the booze in the Qantas lounge.
When I first read this story, I thought he was wandering through...
With a glass.
Yeah, with a glass.
Like
a full
this?
glass.
Yeah.
In the floods.
Not like on his way back from visiting.
Afterwards. I mean, are we doing this? Are we policing people for having a drink at the end of their shift? I mean, really... I ask for a drink before I even start work. So I'm never working again if
Miss
this is the
turns
case.
up here with a goon bag ready to go. Like, what are we doing?
As the non-drinker, here's my question.
Yes.
What is the appropriate post-disaster zone visitation drink?
So you think it's specifically about the type of drink?
Well, I'm asking you. This is your expertise, not mine. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I can
It is.
imagine red wine. People would think it's like High Life or something.
I think red wine's okay, unless it's a bottle of Grange.
Do you think
but...
it should have gone like a 4X? Is that the kind of
Well,
point?
so
you're making?
would that have been
fine.
Achievable, kind of attainable?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that red wine in the Qantas Club's not that good. Come on, let's be honest.
All right, the High Life over here. If he popped a bottle of Moe, that's probably a bit bang out
What
of
about
order.
non-alcoholic? Like, I feel like
Wait, what's a non-alcoholic drink?
Sorry, there's too much to explain.
Sorry.
You better go.
Guys, let's stay in Queensland, actually, to the Gold Coast. They know a thing or two about drinking up there, but also the residents are protesting a view tax for the apartments. But if this woman here is to be believed, it sounds to me like the tax is the least of her worries.
What is so appalling is that there's such an abuse of the town plan. We don't have a view any longer. Our view is our neighbour's bedroom. So I get to see his hairy backside most mornings.
Well, look, that's what you get when you move next door to Steve Price's holiday house. I mean, she knew what she was getting herself into.
You can get laser for that now. You know?
Yeah. That's where Pricey is this week.
So much good news today. Rate cuts, curing cancer. But in case you've been living under a rock, an asteroid hurtling towards us is starting to look a lot more like hitting Earth. And in case you're about to die under a rock, you might want to listen up.
It sounds like the plot of a sci-fi blockbuster, but in a terrifying twist, it could be our reality.
An asteroid that was spotted late last year by space scientists is being carefully tracked.
It's on a collision course with Earth, making space agencies, including NASA, sit up and take some notice.
Meet YR4 2024, the so-called city killer asteroid that could be headed our way. NASA scientists keeping a close watch using the most powerful telescope in the world to track it.
It's about 500 times more powerful than the biggest bomb we exploded during World War II.
YR4 is estimated to be between 40 and 90 metres wide and could hit Earth on December 22, 2032. The good news? The likelihood of that happening is just over 2%. The bad news? That number has more than doubled in the last 2 months.
The likelihood of it happening randomly increased for some reason.
It's the size of a football pitch.
We do have a trajectory lined up. It goes from about South Africa across into subcontinental Asia. That's the direction that it may potentially hit at the moment from our current estimates.
YR is significantly smaller than the last large-scale asteroid to hit Earth, which wiped out the dinosaurs. But scientists say it could still take out a city.
If it's a metallic asteroid, it could punch through the atmosphere and make impact. If it's on land, this impact crater left behind could be around 1 kilometre across and hundreds of metres deep.
So if it continues to head our way, do we have a contingency plan?
You gotta have some kind of backup plan, right? No, we don't have a backup plan.
Settle down, Bruce Willis. There are options.
We could use a kinetic impactor, so basically giving a big boop over to the asteroid to move it off its course. We can blast it with lasers using laser ablation, or if worse comes to worse, we can just nuke it.
So if the people with the giant telescopes are telling us not to panic, should we listen or go full panic mode like our TikTok mates?
Guys in the West are saying that it's too late and then this thing's going to hit.
Humanity is about to go out with an whoopsies.
I like the nuke it option.
Just nuke it. I mean, it's terrifying to think that something like this could happen, but surely we'll have the technology by 2032 to sort this out.
No, we'll be busy planning the Olympics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah. No, thank
That would be an amazing opening ceremony, wouldn't it?
Well, no, but it's after the Olympics.
Yeah. So we just get it in, thank God, to see Ray Gun come back and do it. I don't know. Did you see one of the options there was a boop? A boop doesn't seem enough at all. She was like, just boop it. It's enough. What do we do?
No, but you only need to move it a few degrees because space is big.
Really?
And so just, If you get a few degrees, it'll miss by a lot.
Oh, OK, and we're saved.
And then we're saved. But who's going to do the booping? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how to boop, so I don't know what a boop is.
Not space booping. Space booping's a whole other thing.
There's a movie in that, Space Boop.
Space boop.
I'd watch that.
I'd definitely watch that.
All right, it's time for a break. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back. Welcome to
Gerald Ridsdale, the disgraced Catholic priest serving a decades-long jail term for historic sexual abuse, has died in prison. One of Australia's worst child sex offenders, the 90-year-old was convicted of abusing more than 70 children over 3 decades. He was finally jailed in 1994.
The federal government has again appealed for the safe release of Australian prisoner of war Oscar Jenkins after new footage of the 32-year-old was posted online. Oscar was captured by Russian forces while fighting for Ukraine in December. The unverified video, supposedly filmed on January 17, appears to show him in Russian custody.
My name is Oscar Jenkins. I come from Australia. My health, I feel a bit weak. I've lost a lot of weight. I have a broken arm still, I think, and my hand is not good.
All right, it's time to see what else is making news now around the world. Thousands of people across the US have used President's Day to protest changes made by President Donald Trump and his billionaire advisor Elon Musk.
Elon Musk has got to go!
They claim Musk and Doge, his Department of Government Efficiency, have been given too much power.
The fact that Trump is allowing this or encouraging this is terrifying.
The Pope's hospital stay has been extended as he battles a complex respiratory tract infection. Admitted on Friday, an increasingly frail 88-year-old has been unwell for more than a week. Vatican officials say he's stable and in good spirits, but they've cancelled his weekly audience in St Peter's Square. And dramatic footage shows the moment passengers scrambled to safety after their Delta Airlines plane crashed and flipped at Toronto's Pearson Airport.
Drop everything, drop it! Don't take over.
At least 15 of the 80 people on board were injured.
We just landed, our plane crashed, it's upside down.
One passenger told CNN everything was fine 1 minute, then the next they were hanging upside down like bats.
Yo, I was just on this plane.
Whoa.
Woo!
That's a bit intense.
You flying? I got to fly tonight, and I'm very excited.
I'm feeling every bump at the moment.
There's been so many accidents, particularly on landing. It seems very odd.
Yeah.
Very, very odd.
That reminds me of getting off the old Tiger flights. Did you ever do those ones? They were a bumpy ride as well.
Do you always wear your seatbelt?
Yes.
Yes.
Never take it off.
You have to wear it, don't you?
Not the whole.
It's
What
not
about,
like the light
what
goes
about
off.
long haul, where you just try to sleep?
You extend it out as far as you can, so you can just kind of spread out.
Right.
What do they do? What do they do in first class when you're trying to sleep while they eat?
I see what you're doing. But I'm not Steve Price. It's not as funny.
Yeah, so it doesn't really work with you, does it?
All right, after a break, more project soon.
Welcome back. This is The Project.
US and Russian officials are arriving in Saudi Arabia ahead of this week's high-stakes peace talks that will not include a Ukrainian delegation. It comes as European leaders held an emergency meeting in Paris after it emerged that they too weren't invited. They're insisting their countries must have a say in any peace talks in future. Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Miroshnichenko, joins us now. Ambassador, President Zelensky said that he will not accept any decision that is made without Ukraine's involvement. I mean, I get that, but if America and Russia strike a deal here, is Ukraine really in a position to refuse?
Well, it's Ukraine which is currently fighting, and America, which has been extremely supportive of Ukraine, certainly has contributed to Ukraine's defense, and probably we would not be able to survive without American support, without the European support. But at the same time, America is not at war with Russia. It is Russia which invaded Ukraine, and we are at war with Russia. So to achieve a robust peace, Ukraine must be involved. And I think President Zelensky was pretty clear at the Munich Security Conference, where he emphasized it and said nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, but also nothing about Europe without Europe, because we are talking about security in Europe, and it's clearly European countries must be involved in this.
So I totally understand that argument, but you just said yourself, if America pulls its support, I mean, you're in big trouble. So if that's what Donald Trump does, if he says, I've struck this deal with Russia, we're going to pull your support if you don't accept it. I mean, do you have a plan for that sort of scenario?
Well, that's the reason why President Macron has convened a meeting of the European leaders in Paris on Monday, and they were discussing, it also includes EU plus Britain, discussing how they will continue supporting Ukraine, what should be the involvement. But certainly, I believe when we're convinced that for any security in Europe, it must be America, Europe, and involved together. And only through strengths that we can talk to Russia. Because at this stage, we need to put more pressure on Russia, because this is the only language Russia understands. And for us, we need some security guarantees to have this war over.
Does the apparent closeness of Trump and Putin worry you?
They have started, they had a conversation, they had a 19-minute conversation. As you know, President Trump called Zelensky after that. They had a long 60-minute conversation as well. There have been many meetings in Munich between our leaders, and there is continuous discussions and dialogue happening. We believe it's in American interest to make sure that Russia is not rewarded for its aggression in Ukraine. Because if might is right, that emboldens other authoritarian leaders to do the same thing. And that really is opening up a Pandora box of those who have the strengths, who have nuclear weapons, to actually go and change borders by force. And I think this should be of great concern to Australia, as well as any other free, democratic country in the world. Because we're all of a sudden forgetting about the values we're all fighting for. I just have to remind you, we are fighting for our sovereignty. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for human rights. We are fighting for the UN Charter, which Russia has broken, right? What we are fighting for is something which is in the interest of the democratic world. And actually rewarding Russia for their aggression will send a very strong negative signal to all other authoritarian leaders.
Ambassador, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, still ahead inside Australia's political TikTok wars. Which Pollies are making a mark on the social media platform and swaying an entire generation of new voters? Watching the program. Welcome back to the project. Still ahead, she has ditched the bows and has a whole new look. We chat to former child star turned pop sensation Jojo Siwa right here at the desk. It's coming up on the project.
Exciting. But first, it's finally happened, you guys. For the first time in more than 4 years, the RBA has today slashed the official cash rate, bringing...
Sorry.
You had one job.
I went the wrong way and I made a weird noise. Did everyone hear that?
You can't woo before it happens. You have to woo afterwards.
I twisted it the wrong way. Also, that's all the money I've saved on interest rates.
Responsibility. The cannon was too much responsibility. But look, everyday Aussies are thankful for some long-awaited hip pocket relief.
Remember when we were all disinfecting our fresh produce and our cells while waiting for the daily COVID stats? Yeah, that's how long it's been since our last rate cut. Until now.
Interest rate cut. It's just dropped to 4.1%.
Everything snowballs. When one cut happens, then hopefully that alleviates some of the stress.
It's going to make a significant difference.
I was really looking forward to that rate cut, so very, very excited to hear that news.
Happy. I know there's a lot of people struggling.
The RBA rewarding us for all that inflation-taming belt tightening with a rate cut of 0.25%.
This is the rate relief that Australians need and deserve.
It's time to reduce a little bit of that restrictiveness, but we cannot declare victory on inflation just yet.
But after 13 interest rate hikes followed by 15 months on hold, it's a blessed relief for borrowers, 500,000 of whom have never before seen a rate cut. The savings for mortgage holders ranging from $92 a month for a $600,000 loan to $154 a month for $1 million loan.
I think there's positivity.
I think it'll be, well, helpful, but I don't think it'll save the day.
It's about time.
The Big Four banks were quick to announce cuts to their variable rates just seconds after the RBA. but slower to actually enact the cuts, with around a 2-week wait for customers. And it's not just homeowners frothing over the RBA's decision today. These guys are pretty stoked too.
Under this Labor government, inflation is down, wages are up, unemployment is low, and now interest rates are falling as well.
Looking to claim credit for bringing relief to cash-strapped Aussies before what's set to be a tight-as election race.
The primary focus of this Albanese Labor government will continue to be the cost of living.
Labor doesn't know how to manage the economy, and if you want to beat a cost of living crisis, the key is economic management.
So is the worst finally behind us when it comes to hip pocket pain? And could we see more interest rate cuts to come?
Economist Chris Richardson is here to give us some more details. Chris, fingers crossed. Is this the start of a cutapalooza?
Cuts are great, but you're getting this much, not that much. The governor going out of her way to say you can have a bit of fun, but not a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, well, a bit of a party pooper, wasn't she? I mean, the RBA boss, she couldn't let us have one day without telling us to cool our jets. But Jim Chalmers, on the other hand, is saying that the worst is behind us. So who's right?
Well, he's right. The worst is behind us. But she's right. Chances are there aren't that many more rate cuts out there. It's been a tough grind for Australians. Good news today, first time in years if you've got a mortgage. But you shouldn't expect things to get better fast. We're stuck in a grind.
She also said it was a tough decision. Is there a world that admittedly none of us wants to live in, but a world where they might have got this slightly wrong, inflation starts to take off again, and interest rates potentially even start heading back up, or is that just not on the radar?
We're talking unlikely, all right? You can't rule it out. But two risks. One is Trump, and he could do anything, and there are some risks there. The other is, it's not long till a federal election. Both sides of politics might throw money around. The Reserve Bank is assuming, for example, that our electricity rebates stop at the end of June. Nobody in Canberra thinks that's going to happen. So there's a risk that we get too many promises from both sides. But chances are, rates are not going back up. It might be a slow grind down, but it should continue.
We're playing the long game, obviously, but it seemed odd that the RBA, for the first time in history, let cameras in to film them today. This was pretty funny. Are they on a massive PR push?
Well, look, if you're the most hated kid at school, right, and you have a chance finally for somebody to be happy with you, you're going to take that chance. The funny thing is, though, that as soon as we knew that there were cameras allowed into the boardroom, we knew there was going to be a rate cut, right? So the news kind of crept out. It's entirely understandable. They have a tough job. They are the fun police. It's what they have to do. They can have their fun, at least for today.
Chris, thanks so much for your thoughts.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get some more news now, and, well, there goes the glitter. Anthony Albanese won't say whether his government will step in to end the long-running New South Wales train dispute. But the PM did accuse the rail unions of alienating commuters. Today, 272 staff failed to show up for work. That also impacts colleagues. This video appearing to show an exhausted guard refusing to continue her shift.
Because people are not where they're supposed to be, and I've been on this train for nearly 6.5 hours. I'm entitled to some food, yeah?
The dispute will return to the Fair Work Commission tomorrow.
Good news for travellers. Australia's competition watchdog has signed off on Virgin Australia's plan to resume long-haul flights using Qatar Airways planes. Today's decision paves the way for Virgin to operate 28 weekly return flights between 4 Aussie capital cities and Doha. The deal can take off once it gets regulatory approval.
And an Aussie TikToker wants a please explain from Smith's Chips over a serious case of shrinkflation. Katie Clare revealed online that the 45-gram bag of chips her dad bought for $2 weighed just 14 grams on the scales, and things didn't get better. When she opened the bag, there were like 5 chips in there and a few crumbs.
That's like 50 cents a chip.
Yeah. So I stole this packet of chips off someone in the audience, and these are 19 grams. Should we have a look?
That really is shrinkflation.
It is shrinkflation. That's normally what my girlfriend tells me when I get out of the pool. Anyway, okay, let's have a look. Oh, there's heat.
That's all right.
You really should have checked that before.
Yeah, I mean, I think TikTok's
This looks perfectly reasonable.
That's not too bad, is it?
Okay, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be 2 chips in there.
No.
Anyway,
All right, should we just move on?
All right, good TV.
Thank you.
Good TV.
That's why they call it fun size, Waleed.
Now, the RBA has slashed interest rates. This means the election drums are beating. But as the fight for hearts and minds heats up, a new political powerhouse is emerging, and it's driving Pollies to the digital battleground of TikTok.
Baby boomers, your reign over Aussie politics is drawing to a close as a new electoral force rises.
Hey TikTok, thought I'd hop on here.
I really joined TikTok for one reason.
The looming federal election, set to be the first in Aussie politics, where Gen Z and millennials outnumber boomers. By May, they'll make up nearly half of voters. Boomers just 33%, which is why TikTok is emerging as a key campaign battleground.
Roses are red, violets are blue. It's Valentine's Day, and we love blue-collar workers.
More than 8.5 million Aussies are on the app, and for nearly 2/3 of Gen Z, social media is their go-to for news. Politicians adapting both the means of the communication and the way they're communicating.
Just put the fries in the bag, little bro.
Those opposite are not like us.
They're not like us. These results did not fall out of a coconut tree.
I probably should say something that is or isn't demure.
Okay, ready? Who reached out first? Who dresses the best?
So who is winning the TikTok wars? New analysis by the ABC has found, on average play per video, the Liberals are ahead of Labor with more than double the views, even though Labor has been on TikTok longer.
Authorised A. Hurst, Liberal Party, Canberra.
Dutton ahead of the PM with 100,000 more average views per video last month.
If you want to be a super popular character, then become a movie star.
Elsewhere on social media, the battle is tighter. On Instagram, Albo outperforms Dutton, but the Liberals have the edge over Labor. The PM is clinging on to the lead on Facebook, the most popular platform for the 65s and older.
There you go.
So exciting! So, as our leaders double down on their digital charm offensive, who will win young hearts and minds?
Hi there, PM here. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton.
Well, when she's not hanging around our Pollies, she's busy building her own TikTok empire. Nice to see you, Amy Ramakis. Do you think that likes and follows necessarily translate into votes?
Not necessarily. It definitely translates into cringe moments, but I think what our politicians are trying to do is basically get young people interested and motivated about their democracy. And the best way to do that, as you guys have already pointed out, is through social media, because people are not picking up newspapers, they're not turning on the radio, they're not looking at news websites, they're getting it from social media. But there's another element to it which is not often talked about, which is the data that politicians and political parties like to gather from social media. And they find it a lot easier to find out what people are actually talking about instantly on social media than any other type of platform.
Right. Well, Amy, how do the parties' social media styles differ, given that's the case?
Well, it's kind of interesting because if you went back before the election where Labor won, you would say that the coalition was a little bit more staid and that Labor had, you know, the youth, and you had all of the Bill Shorten memes that were going through and all of like the meme lord stuff that was happening. But it's pretty hard as government to be like a meme lord because it doesn't work when you're talking about serious issues. I mean, roses are red, violets are blue, robo-debt sucked, we'll be there to protect you doesn't quite work when you're the government, but it does work when you're in opposition.
Meme lord, you say?
Meme lord.
Obviously, there's a lot of content going around. Is any of it about policy, or is it all just like sick political burns?
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of it is sick political burns. The government tries to put out a little bit more policy as they remind people that they've actually done some things while they've been in power, while the opposition is kind of going, hey, look at this sucks, doesn't it? Get angry about it. The really interesting thing, though, is that you've seen the coalition really embrace TikTok, which is the big bad in the social media. If you go back a few years ago, it was the coalition who were leading the charge, not to have TikTok banned, but to have TikTok severely monitored. I mean, it's not on government phones or parliamentary staffer phones for a reason. But I think that also points to the fact that younger voters tend to skew a little bit more progressive, and Labor is hoping that when they get to the polls that they'll still vote for a more progressive government, where the Liberals have to do a little bit more work to try and get younger people engaged.
Politicians ruin everything, don't they? Amy, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You're right about that, because social media, of course, was paradise until...
It's so cringe right about now, you know?
We're off to break. To see you soon.
Well, the older we get, the more set in our ways we become, and it can be daunting to try something new. But for these Gold Coast mums, they are proving there's no better time to embrace the risque.
Each Friday night, this senior citizens hall is transformed into something a little more exciting.
Feel so accepted no matter what. Oh boy, I had some fun and never looked back. If anyone had asked me a year ago if you would be on a stage in front of hundreds of people dancing, I would have said absolutely not. I can't see my life without this now. This is my thing. We get to wear whatever we want. We can be whoever we want to be.
These mums have found their confidence, and it's all thanks to this woman.
My name is Ash Barchard. By day, I'm a mum to a almost 3-year-old, and by night, I teach burlesque classes.
Ash has spent most of her life dancing.
I loved how much it empowered women and just the confidence that came with it.
But in 2013, an ankle injury forced her from centre stage. And when she welcomed her son Kai in 2022, everything changed again.
Navigating the first few months of parenthood was really difficult for me. I just felt really lost. I didn't really know who I was anymore outside of being a mum, and I really wanted to dance. I missed it. And so one night I was feeding my son. It was about 3 a.m. and I thought, why not? What's holding me back? Let's just do it.
Naming her burlesque school Sass and Soul, she posted on socials to gauge interest.
I just was inundated with messages. Once I put it out on other groups, then again, I was just inundated. We sold out our first workshop in less than a week.
Tiana, Chrissy and Tamara were part of that first class.
I think I was the first person who messaged Ash. She messaged me back straight away. And I was like, ooh, I like this girl.
For Tamara, life with 2 kids is...
wonderful. It's full on. It's chaotic. But at the end of the day, wouldn't change it for the world.
Her son has autism, and between taking the kids to school and appointments, there wasn't much time left for her.
I just needed that time to discover me again. When I came across Sass and Soul, I was just like, burlesque, okay. Never done that before, and I honestly wouldn't look back.
Chrissy can relate to Tamara's story.
Before, I didn't have much of a social life that was just about myself. It was always revolved around kids' activities or appointments or working around my husband. Now it's me that's, I'm out every Friday night. He knows that.
So your leg comes in.
Here, women from all walks of life step out of their comfort zone and into the risque.
It's just so great to see people just flourish and just be able to show our sisterhood out to the world.
You want to be a little bit away from your chairs when you do this because you're going to do it twice.
It's been a good outlet. It's definitely been helpful that I've found a safe space to do something that's really enjoyable. It's also great for me mentally and physically as well.
What started as a one-off 6-week program has turned into regular workshops. They've even faced their fears and performed to packed-out crowds.
The first few moments on the stage is definitely the most nerve-wracking, but it felt amazing to actually get through it, smash it out, and actually do really well in it as well. It just really boosted my confidence. All of us were buzzing. We were just so happy, we were all dressing up, we were just all coming out of our skins.
We have some incredible women in our group and we keep meeting new women and we have big plans for shows and all sorts of things. So yeah, I'm very excited. It's also given me incredible friendships and connections. I've made beautiful lifelong friends that are like family, which is just beyond amazing.
It's just like family. Some of these girls are my best friends. Just to have that outlet to be a different and better version of yourself. Anyone would really like to be a part of that. Well, I'd hope so.
You know, sometimes when you become a mum, you lose a bit of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's nice to tap back into that kind of sexiness and realise, like, you love your kids, but just tap back into the person you were before
kids.
Yeah.
And also I love that idea of this is my night. Friday night is mine. I'm out.
Yeah.
So when are you guys starting?
Friday night.
I've got a bit of a back issue at the moment. As you know, that's not even a lie.
It's all right. I've got enough feathers to minister as well.
I loved it, guys. I reckon we celebrate again. I still have another one. It's crazy. Guys, let's go to Sydney right now. Some councils are pushing to make public pools free for parents. I get it. Swimming lessons are very expensive. But this guy, he's got a very good, cheap alternative.
And I guess swimming lessons as well must be so expensive. I'm sure you're in that.
Yeah, well, swimming lessons are expensive, but I find that the kids actually learn a lot more when they're just chucked in.
Yeah. What's concerning is that guy's not even a parent. He's just throwing random kids in. But it works.
Sink or swim.
It is time for a break, but when we come back, we will be joined by former child star turned pop star.
Breaking boundaries and breaking it down.
Ever since she was Jojo with the Bobo on Dance Mums, Jojo Siwa was fearless.
You can't stand here and cry. No crying children.
Well, if you yell at me, I'm gonna cry.
Get out.
Releasing her debut single Boomerang when she was just 12 years old, the instant hit now boasts a casual 1 billion views. The unapologetic trailblazer was one half of the first ever same-sex couple on Dancing with the Stars, has sold out the world's biggest arenas, and as she's grown up, so has her music. And with a huge year of music on the way, she's ready to fight even harder.
Would you go wild for Jojo Siwa?
Took me somewhere. Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
These guys are very pumped to see you. This is very exciting.
I have no idea why. Absolutely none. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you.
Can I just say, can you see them? These glasses, there's a lot going on.
My girlfriend asked me the exact same thing. They were like, can you even see through those? You can't. There's just like little lines.
Are they prescription?
For sure. For sure. No, they're just for fun.
It's nice to have you here, and you've been having a bit of a fun time in Bondi with your girlfriend, where you two caused a bit of a scene. We want to show everyone what's going on here.
What do you mean? What do you mean what's going on?
You were kind of on the ground crawling.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that's not how we get around in Australia.
You guys don't?
Although walking out of a Bondi pub, that is very common.
Yeah, just doing our normal daily walk. We're just going for a stroll like everybody else does. I don't know.
Now, it's lovely to have you here, and it's an international love affair. How did you guys meet, you and your partner?
G-flip. Yeah. We have this joke that anytime somebody asks, we just like deadpan G-flip. But yeah, Flippo actually introduced us. So I have been friends with Flip, Kath has been friends with Flip, and then randomly, both were in LA at the same time. Was hanging out with Flip, and they were like, can my friend Kath come? And I was like, yeah, sure. Should have said no. Love you, babe. But should have said no, because now I am head over heels in the best way possible. But yeah, then ever since then we were really good friends, and then slowly but surely I developed a massive crush. always said I wanted to move to Australia one day, and now I have a sweet, sweet Australian girlfriend.
Hell yeah.
Was that you announcing that you're moving to Australia?
I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm spending this month here. I'm here for a long time right now, but I don't know if I'll ever actually permanently move, but
Jeez, what a tease! You started.
I know.
Interest rates have just gone down. It's never been a better time.
No, I do see though a lot of Aussie in my future. I feel like there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I would love for my little babies to have an Australian accent so they can go to school here happily.
Because you need the accent to get into school.
That's the only reason we're staying here, for the accent, 100%.
Understand. You're someone who's very public with your private life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Is part of that in any way kind of like a rebellion against the child star upbringing that you had?
I think everything I do is a little bit of a rebellion against the child star upbringing. No, honestly, I think because I grew up kind of just being me, right? I was never really a character. I always shared everything. And even from a very young age, my mom told me, she always said, you don't need to share everything. The world doesn't need to know it all. And I would always be like, but I want them to. I like it. I don't mind. And as I've gotten older, obviously celebrations.
Sorry, I accident before. That is my fault.
Interest rate day is a big deal.
As I've gotten older, I've definitely learned that now I'm including somebody else's life in my public life, you know what I mean? And so that's a conversation very early on that I had with Kath as well. Look, I do have, we call it a big and scary life. I have a big and scary life, and it does take a second. It is an adjusting period, but yeah, I don't know. I don't ever, believe it or not, there are some things I do keep a secret.
Really?
I know it doesn't seem like it, but I do have a little bit of a private life.
Like what?
Great question.
I've got a question though that you can tell us. I love this.
It's gonna be a good question.
Obviously. You've got new music coming out. What can we expect?
Oh my gosh, y'all! I have something really exciting coming. I'm gonna make two actually massive announcements in the next 2 months. New music is back where my heart wants to be with music. I really invested myself in my kids' music, and I used to love that. And I feel like as I kind of did this adult world, don't get me wrong, I love a good karma moment. But I definitely strayed away from really who I am in my heart with my music, and I'm excited to bring that back.
Wow, it's a collab with the Wiggles.
Bring it out! Bring it out!
Wait, no, you do it.
See, that's how you do it. That's how you do it.
I got you.
The EP is called Guilty Pleasure. It is out now. Keep your ears peeled for new music we just heard about. Would you please welcome Jojo Siwa?
Thank you, lovely man. Thank you.